Hi, my name is Renford Reese. I'm a professor in the political science department at Cal Poly Pomona and also the director of the Colorful Flags program. We're here today as a part of the Prison Race series to have a discussion with Luis Garcia, a young man who was once incarcerated but has gone on to get his undergraduate degree in theology from Loyola Marymount University, to get his master's in social work degree from USC, and he is currently working towards his doctorate in higher education at Loyola Marymount. He has a very powerful and inspirational story. I want to talk to him today about his evolution, about his transition, and the lessons learned along the way. Luis, glad to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me something about your background. Tell me something about your family structure growing up. What was it like?
Well, I lived in a pretty middle-class neighborhood. I always liken it to kind of like the Bad News Bears. I grew up in the 70s. It was a pretty nice family environment. My father's a retired deputy probation officer. My mom worked and had a pretty stable family, a lot of grandparent influence, and we went to good schools. It was a good environment.
So your parents were together when
Yes.
you were growing? Okay, so tell me about what area? What is it part of Los Angeles?
Yes, unincorporated Whittier area, southeast LA County.
Right, okay.
And Montebello and Santa Fe Springs.
Okay, so tell me about your hobbies. What were you interested in as a kid?
I used to like to, well, I liked art and I liked drawing. Specifically, I used to like to draw cars. I used to really, kind of like I had eventually in my head, and I wanted to do car designing at one time.
Oh, okay. And then what type of student were you?
I was in elementary school. I was, what was it called? The MGM program. I was in those kind of accelerated kind of programs. I think in the 5th grade, I won an essay that was recognized by the city council, and we got to write in a parade, and I enjoyed school.
So I don't understand what went wrong. How did the wheels come off? Now you're talking about a strong family background. You're not talking about a family structure that was or environment that was dysfunctional. You're talking about supportive grandparents, supportive parents. You're talking about going to good schools. You're talking about excelling in school. So how did you wind up being incarcerated? I mean, people want to know. I mean, this doesn't fit the script. So tell me what happened along the way that changed for you.
I hit high school. And I think high school with a lot of the, what looking back now was a lot of, normal adolescent issues that were coming up, that were arising, that weren't, just hindsight's always 20. It just wasn't addressed. And a lot of my academic my academic performance started taking a nosedive. I was going to a Catholic private high school at the time, and then kind of like a combination of peer pressure or wanting to fit in with peers, I ended up leaving the private school to go to public school. And then by support of my parents, I had was fortunate to have them purchase a little Vespa scooter for me. That was like I was hanging out with the Vespa kids, and at 16 I had my Vespa, and I was going to public school, and I was starting to have an interest in women and girls and just all that, a lot of stuff that was just coming out, like the self-esteem issues, combination with like a first girlfriend experience. It just, it did not work to my advantage, and basically that was the starting point in that high school era.
Okay, so when you say the starting point, so what types of things were you doing? How did you act out? How did this kind of manifest itself?
I moved from the scooter stage, the scooter environment, into the car stage, and my parents bought me a car, and that started off a chain of events with hanging out with friends that were partying, and then basically the partying accelerated to getting tickets for suspended license tickets, and then for driving under the influence of alcohol tickets. So it just basically graduated to that within a matter of a couple of years by the time I was 18.
So you had more than one DUI?
Yeah, I had, by the time I was 21, I had 3, and then I had numerous suspended license tickets.
Okay. So what happened as a consequence of you having 3 DUIs?
Well, the consequence of having the suspended license, I think, came first. Well, no, the DUI came first. Was it started off with some overnights in jail, and then it graduated to, I think it was, by the time a third one I had, it was a 210-day sentence in LA County Jail.
So after your first one and your second one, is it anything going on in your head saying that, hey, I have to change my life? I've been in jail. I've served this time, these days in jail. I'm not on the right path. Did it occur to you?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's obviously there was this. You know, you're not doing the right thing, but then the right thing is that you're just you're kind of sucked up with the friends and the environment in which you're doing, and you kind of rationalize it and make it say it's okay. I'll get out of it. You know, I'll fix things up, and it just becomes like this self-perpetuating negative cycle that the only I guess intervention was getting incarcerated.
So now tell us about your first offense that landed you in prison.
It was involving alcohol, and I got into an altercation, and basically I took a plea deal to 3 years for assault deadly weapon. That was my first experience, and I was sentenced to 3 years in state prison, and that was in 1991.
Okay. So what was it like? I mean, you're going from this type of stable household environment to prison. What was it like? Where did you go to reception first?
I went to Tehachapi at the time for reception, and it was a a traumatic experience. Very simply, it was like, I was in the county jail, and I also have a first cousin who was he's a sheriff's deputy. So at the time, I took advantage of having a relationship with having a relative that's in law enforcement and my father. So I went to the special area where they handled relatives of law enforcement. So in the county jail, when you go to state prison, they ask you, do you want to stay, to consider it protective custody? And I was like, no. So I basically, you're dropped into the CDC's way of doing things. So it was it was a wake up.
So where did you go from reception? What prison did you go to?
I went to across the facility into the two yard at Tehachapi.
Okay. Now, tell me, what was it like when you went to the 2 yard? I mean, who did you identify with? We know that the prisons in California are segregated based on ethnic background and gang affiliation. You're Latino, so you had to either go with Nuestra Familia, Northern Structure, or Sureños, the southern, all the Mexican gangs south of Fresno. So, or you could stay non-affiliated. Who did you decide to basically side with?
When you come into reception, at Tehachapi, I could vividly remember the officer, they asking you, what do you consider yourself? And as far as I remember, it was